People like me, I was born in a very poor family. I never got a great education. I failed all the examinations. For what reason? I don't know. But later, I realized I don't have money, I don't have technology, I don't have a lot of good backgrounds where we have a rich uncle or something, no. The only thing I competed with my people, the young people, is let's compete for 10 years later. This is what I believe 10 years later will be happening. So everything I do for that goal, I know 10 years later, this thing is going to happen. So prepare for that.
No idea works unless you're willing to roll up your sleeves, do the practice, invest the time, put in the effort, do the work. I think we've all observed a lot of people who they love reading the books, they love showing up at the courses, they do all the online training, and nothing ever changes. Well, it's because ideas don't work if you don't execute on them. So if you look at the great business builders, you look at any great performer, one thing that makes them great is their grit. One thing that makes them great is their hunger to practice. One thing that makes them great is they are willing to sacrifice.
Today, people have no patience. We all want it right now, and people don't only not commit to mastery, but they rarely even find a real mentor or coach. They think they have all the answers, they try a few things, if it doesn't work, they run to something else. If you want a great jump in the quality of your life, an extraordinary jump in the quality of your life, you got to set yourself up to win. You got to set yourself up with a process that allows you to consistently grow, consistently enjoy your life, and consistently produce the results that you're really after.
We're built for struggle, us human beings. You're not after the bubbles of bliss that Dostoevsky described in Notes from Underground. We're built to contend with the world. We're built to contend with reality. You want a challenge, and the best way that you can take on a challenge, because a challenge fortifies you. So you don't want to be secure, you want to be strong. And you get strong by taking on optimal challenges. And so you lay out your destiny in the world, and you take the slings and arrows of fate, and you make yourself stronger while you're doing so. And you might fail, and fortune might do you in, but it's your best bet.
See, most people stop short of their dreams and park and get off the highway of life because of the rejections of life. You will always be rejected. It's no big deal. Jack Canfield said rejection is a myth. It's not like when somebody says no and then they slap you. No, it's just, to me, make no your vitamin. Get excited about the no. Why? Because every time someone says no, that brings you another step to a yes. You're getting closer. Trust me, you will win if you don't quit. You will win if you don't quit. Even a broke clock is right twice a day.
The investment of belief in people, sowing seeds of belief. That's what makes you a leader. People say, what makes me a leader? Makes you a leader is your example. What makes you a leader is you investing belief and loving and caring about people. Any one of you in this moment could decide you're going to lead. Because leadership is instilling something in someone that they don't see in themselves. Loving on them, believing them, seeing their giftedness. All of you, I don't care if you're loud or quiet, big here or small here, you could be a leader. The bottom line is you need to decide you want to lead.
You've got to be willing to suffer for your vision. You've got to be willing to suffer to reach BIW, best in world. You've got to be willing to suffer the ridicule and laughter of your critics and your cynics to get to a place called world class.
My message is it's a challenge, but it's an opportunity. And it's the opportunity for people like us.
I've never met a person who was not successful that didn't have a great amount of self-discipline within their life. Self-discipline and being able to perform and being able to keep your life on schedule and being able to keep commitments and promises and meet deadlines is essential to success. None of us can afford to have a life that is controlled by someone else, or a life that is basically controlled by our emotions. I learned many years ago that there are two kinds of people. There's the type of person who says, I'm going to wait till I feel like it before I do it. And then there's a person who says, I've got to do it so that I feel like it. One will never get anything done because they're still waiting to feel the moment to move. And the other person says, no, I need to move, and then I will begin to feel the moment. Sonia, self-discipline is essential in your life and in my life if we're going to get things done. So I have a challenge for every one of you this weekend. The challenge is simple. As you go through your weekend, and sometimes it's kind of hopefully an easier time of your week, ask yourself, am I practicing self-discipline in my life? Am I doing the things that I should do because I need to do them, or am I kind of waiting to feel the moment? Do like our friends Nike say, just do it.
We talk about how do we create rituals, or how do we change habits that last. The first thing is to have a different expectation than I'm going to change in a day or a week or in 21 days. Whenever I try to change anything, my number one rule is 100 days or I don't even start. So if I want to, let's say, stop caffeine, it's a 100-day commitment. So first I make longer-term commitments, and then I design a plan to retrain my brain around the expectation of following through. I make pre-commitments in advance. So if I say, let's say I'm going to stop drinking coffee. I say, okay, I'm going to stop drinking coffee. I commit to it for 100 days. And then I write out, well, what will you do in the morning when you wake up and you want a coffee? What will you do when you're at a restaurant with friends and everybody's having a coffee? What will you do? So you counter any of the behavior when you know the trigger is going to happen. Every habit has three parts to it. There's something that triggers the emotion, there's the behavior, and then there's the neurological and biological reward. So when you understand the habit part of any ritual, you understand that because we are conditioned a certain way, we're going to have a trigger, whether it's a flower, whether it's waking up, whether it's a girl or a guy or children coming home. It triggers a response in the brain, a reaction in the brain. Well, if we change the behavior over the course of 100 days, we'll still get the reward. And if we pre-commit to what we're going to do when we say, maybe today I'll have the coffee and tomorrow I won't. Maybe today I'll have the pizza or the dessert and I'll catch up tomorrow. Well, if you pre-commit in advance that you're not going to take that action, then that's step one. Step two is when you have the trigger, if you interrupt the behavior for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, you interrupt the neural pattern in the brain also. So you come up with strategies. Is when I feel like having a coffee or dessert or the pizza or the croissant, okay, then here's what I'm going to do instead for 5 minutes, and that way I can interrupt the pattern. If you do that long enough, you'll start to develop a new neural pattern, you'll start to develop a new behavior, and if you do it for at least 66 days, but preferably 100 days, you'll start to develop a new way of thinking and being and doing that will overshadow the other pattern in the brain.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so there's a psychology behind it, but there's also the neurological processes of the brain. And what happens is our brain doesn't like change.
Yeah.
So any time that there is change, the brain feels uncomfortable. As soon as it feels uncomfortable, it'll send signals to the motor cortex of the brain. It'll send messages, and we'll start to rationalize. We'll start to tell ourselves, well, I shouldn't do it because of this. Well, maybe today's not a good day. Well, I'll start today, but I won't continue until next week. Or, you know what, I really don't want this. And we start to talk to ourselves. And when we understand what the brain does whenever we try to change, then we can start being in control of the brain, and we can override the automatic responses. There's something called automaticity. And automaticity states that anything that I repeat over and over and over again over a period of time will go from conscious effort, deliberate conscious effort, willpower or persistence, and it'll become automatic. So we just have to know how long that is. And some things take a week, some things take 60 days. Some habits that people have for 20, 30, 40, 50 years take 200 days. And so you start off with a 100-day window, and you ask yourself, am I willing to give a little bit of effort for 100 days to remove this destructive either thought pattern or destructive behavioral pattern in order for me to have something greater and better than what I have right now?
So it's very important. You focus a lot on what you will have or who you will be in the future to keep your motivation.
Yeah, if you think about this, one of the best examples that I ever came up with is, imagine if I give you a Hollywood script right now, okay? And I say to you, if you learn this script for the next 6 months, I will give you $10 million to be on stage to deliver that. We're going to film you, and if you're amazing, you're going to have a chance to win an Academy Award. What will you do with the script starting today?
I start to learn.
You start to learn. You start to read it. You start to emotionalize it. You start to practice it. You start to do everything possible to become something that's in writing. Something that came out of somebody's head, that they wrote a script for, that you don't have any idea what it is. If you made a commitment to becoming that person, and you rehearsed it and practiced it every day, you wouldn't get it right the first day, or the first week,
or the first month.
or the first month. But if you knew there was a big payday, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and that people would go to the theaters and love to watch it, and they'd laugh or cry or be sad or be happy because you were able to take them on a beautiful emotional roller coaster ride, then you would become that role.
Yeah.
Most people are interested, they're not committed. And the difference is, when you're interested, you do what's convenient and what's easy. When you're committed, you do whatever it takes. When you're interested, you do what's easy and what's convenient for you.
Yeah.
But when you're committed, I'm going to get that result, you put everything into it until you get the result.